Good morning, evening, and afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a literature podcast where storytelling meets analysis. I'm your host, Nomandlovu Ncamisile, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ncamisile. As I said, that this is a literature podcast, and today we'll be diving into the world of Angel's Carter iconic short story, the title Bloody Chamber. So, this is a tale that reimagines classical fairy tale motifs, and it also transforms into a haunting Gothic narrative that provokes a deep reflection on gender, sexuality, cultural fantasies of romance. Before getting to our analysis, let's begin by examining the setting of the story, which is the Bloody Chamber. The setting of the story opens in a mysterious, isolated castle. So I think many of you may ask why is the castle such an effective setting for the story? Okay, so the castle serves as a dual symbol of entrapment and desire. Its luxury yet unsettling atmosphere mirrors the protagonist, which is the 17-year-old, conflicting emotions about a new existence, which the rich imaginary evokes unease and draw readers into the world where beauty hides danger. So on my analysis, I'll first start by debating whether the novel critiques the abusive man, which is known as the Marquis. In the novel, Carter criticizes how Marquis is not a prince charming, but a villain who uses his wealth to manipulate and dominate women for his obsessive, sadistic tendency. As in the book, on the first pages, he forces the 17-year-old to always wear the choker on her neck, which he gave it to her as a gift. Marriage's plots as tales of entrapment and survival. The novel explores the Marquis' cruelty and obsession with the young wife innocence, and his lack of empathy or love for his wife. So, as he showered her with gifts and later on attempted to kill her, and she was rescued by her heroic mother, this shows the entrapment and survival. And also, the novel also criticizes the traditional fantasies, romance, and happy ending. Moving to the traditional fantasies. Traditional fairy tales portrays marriage as an escape to love, safety, and riches. They show women who suffers at home are rewarded with marriage and princess statuses, while Carter changes the whole narrative as she is showing that the marriage of the 17-year-old was a trap of death, pain, and also horror. Continuing with the traditional fantasies. The Bloody Chamber short story, Carter begins the story as a fairy tale, but later on she shifts the narrative into portraying the castle as a form of danger and suffering of imprisonment. As we know that castles are known as a place where there is magical, everything portrays as a magical place of love and happily ever after. And instead of her portraying as that, she changed the narrative, and that place became a place of control, death, and that's where her plot changes to survival of control and danger, escape instead of happiness and love. Moving on to the subversion of happily ever after through the violent awakening. So, the subversion fairy tales end with happily ever after, comfort and love. But as I stated before, that on the Bloody Chamber, it ends with violence, survival, and eruption of hidden secrets. As the 17-year-old Marquis' wife discovered some deep secrets about him killing his 3 wives, and he also wanted to kill the 17-year-old, but due to God's grace, she survived. So, moving on to the transformation of passive princesses. Okay, fairy tales often portrays women who are naive and obedient. For example, Cinderella. Cinderella faces so many challenges, but she was brave and naive. So, damsel in distress, waiting to be saved by the Prince Charming. Carter changes the narrative by portraying the protagonist as a heroine who survived death through her knowledge of curiosity. And on the novel, the theme curiosity is associated with knowledge because, yeah. The young wife's mother is shown as an ultimate hero and a true Avenger, as she followed her instincts that her child was not okay, and she went to the castle and found out that her child was almost killed by her husband. So, touching on the last part, before I give to my co-host, in the Monsters and Beasts, the fairy tale take a follow of simple narrative of evil and good, where good always conquers the evil. So in the Bloody Chambers short story, Carter's narrative that it is not their case. In the context of the Master and the Beast, she interpreted it as an erotic allure by the 17-year-old who was blindfolded between love and horror. And touching on the last part, before I hand over to my co-host to do her part, in the title Monster and the Beast, the fairy tale follows a simple narrative of evil and good, whereby good always conquer the evil. So in Carter's narrative is that it is not in their case, but in this context, Master and Beast is interpreted as an erotic allure by the 17-year-old girl who was blindfolded between love and horror. And this book analyzes the danger of eroticism. You can take
Hey guys, taking over from Nomandlovu, I'm going to examine Carter's use of Gothic stylistic devices like horror, terror, violence, and symbolism in reshaping familiar fairy tale structures into unsettling new narratives on male desire. Angela Carter's The Bloody Chamber masterfully employs Gothic stylistic devices like horror, terror, violence, and symbolism to reimagine familiar fairy tale structures, shedding light into the darker aspects of male desires. A young 17-year-old girl gets married to a marquis and moves in with him to an isolated castle. As the story progresses, the girl discovers a room with mutilated bodies of the marquis' previous wives. This tale is often interpreted as a cautionary tale against female curiosity. Carter's use of Gothic stylistic devices, horror, terror, violence, and symbolism to reshape familiar fairy tale structures into unsettling new narratives on male desire by the marquis' character showcases the dangers of male power. The Gothic elements of horror and terror are evident from the beginning of the novel. For example, quoting from the novel, blood-stained walls and decaying walls of the castles, of which these quotes creates or rather serves as a basis of all the darker and terrifying secrets of the castle and the marquis. Just by looking at the castle, one can already feel and sense the uneasiness and foreboding atmosphere of the castle. Another example, quoting from the novel, the walls of the castle were as cold as ice. This quote from the novel creates a tone and mood for the rest of the novel, judging from all the drama and violence that will unfold throughout the novel. The luxurious but sinister, isolated with ominous servants, darkness, a male protagonist, and a damsel in distress. Symbolism of the white lilies. The white lilies in the verse seem to mock me with serenity. This quote of the white lilies usually is associated with death or funeral, of which in this context it represents innocence and death of the little marquis. The innocence of the girl and a coming death or the death of the marquis' previous wives. Similarly, the symbolism of the key to the bloody chamber symbolizes power and control by the marquis. Thus, when the girl says, "Each time I struck a match to light these candles round the bed, it seemed the garment of that innocence of mine for which he had lusted over fell away from me." This symbolizes the power of the marquis and how all the secrets of the marquis took away the girl's innocence, symbolizing just how powerful and controlling the marquis was. The marquis was intentional and wanted the girl to find the bloody chamber by saying words such as, quoting from the novel, "Promise me this, you will use all the keys on the ring except the last one that I showed you." If the marquis did not want the girl to find about the room, then why did he even mention the room from the first place? By pointing out the room, warning her not to go there, and giving her the keys to the bloody chamber, the marquis was intentional. He knew what he was doing, and it was his way of trapping the girl by making all those remarks so that she can find the bloody chamber, see all that was hidden, and kill the girl. My abstracted solitude at the piano, quoting from the novel, of which this symbolizes this symbolism of music in this context, as the protagonist is a musician who gives up her music life when she gets married to the Marquis. The music named in the novel is the Liebestod of Tristan and Isolde, Wagner. This music captures the tone of the story, as it is powerful music that connects love and death, just like the lilies and the choker. The symbolism of the ruby choker is a symbolism of wealth and ownership of the Marquis's power, wealth, and control over the female protagonist. It also represents beauty and for a female person. Thank you.
Okay, wrapping up on what we have stated before. Our final thoughts are Angel Scudder's work not only problematized traditional motives, but it also reclaiming female narrative, offering a new pathway for understanding and desire and agency. So in today's world, where conversation about gender and empowerment are more important than ever, so in Kata stories, it became increasingly relevant by inviting critiques and celebration of a female identity. So thank you everyone for joining us today on the exploration of Kata's Angel Scudder's Gothic reimagine of fairy tale. If you find this discussion informative, please don't forget to write a review. See you on the next time.